So welcome everybody to German Tool Reviews. So today what I'm going to show you is how much $1,000 will get you in German brand tools. So what I decided to do was to create a list of the tools that I personally would buy for a general purpose set if I had $1,000 to spend. I'm basing all of my price assumptions on the current list price or MSRP of that tool. Of course, the actual price that you're going to pay is often quite significantly less than that depending on sales and which distributor you get it from. For $1,000 worth of list price tools, I would expect that you would pay between $700 and $800. So I'm going to give you two lists here because several of these tools have a imperial and a metric version, but a lot of them are universal tools. The total price of what you see here is the metric set, and that would come out to a list price of $985.16. The SAE equivalent is slightly over $1,000, coming in at $1,046.23. So I'm basing my $1,000 limit on the metric set, but I'm just throwing out there that there's an imperial version that'll cost you a little bit more. So the tools I've selected here are really based on a general purpose set, such as an everyday set that you would use. There's not a lot of specialty tools in here, if at all. This is my recommendations. If you had some money to spend and you wanted to buy a complete general purpose set, these are the things that I would select. So let's get right into the tools now. So first up, we have a set of Wiha nut drivers. So this is available in two forms. The red form here is the metric set, and the yellow form here is the SAE or inch set. And these are hollow shafted nut drivers, meaning that you could screw the nut down further and it won't bottom out. These have the familiar Wiha handle on them. And you get 7 sizes with each set. And on the metric ones, the size is labeled on the top here, so when you have these in a tool bag, in the pockets of a tool bag, they're very easy to find. I don't really like how the SAE set doesn't have that equivalent. They decided to use colors instead. It's still a very, very good set. This is actually one of the earlier sets that I had. I had this for quite a while, and it definitely comes in handy for a lot of things. Next up here, this is definitely one of my favorite tools of all time, is the Wera Hex L-Key Set. So I've really beaten the L-Key horse to death, so I won't go into too many details, but I like this because of the Hex Plus profile is really the main reason I love these sets. And they offer it in many forms. Some people have mentioned that this sleeve right here may actually cause interference with a screw that's down like a long shaft. I've actually never had that problem. They do offer versions that have the standard hex profile without these color-coded sleeves on there. So this is the metric set. It comes in this holder, which I'm not really a big fan of the holder. The SAE set comes in this nice pouch where things are a little bit more accessible. But you can buy this pouch separately. If you don't like this holder as much, you could pull these out and put them into a different pouch. But this is definitely the set of L-Keys that I go to anytime I need a set. And I've done multiple reviews on these, so if you're interested, you can check those out. Next up, we have a set of Gedore spanners. So these are from the Gedore number 6 double open-ended series. This right here represents the 6-8 set, which includes 8 wrenches. There's also a 6-8A set, which is the imperial equivalent. So what I have here is the metric. So you basically get 6 millimeters up to 19 millimeters inclusive every size, and then you get a 20 and 22. But the reason I really like these is the finish. The finish is really what sets these apart. It was a close call between these and the Stahlwelle, but the Stahlwelle is going to be a little bit more expensive. But this has this matte chrome finish, which actually provides a good amount of grip, more than you would think on it. And the tolerances on these are supposed to be extremely tight compared to the DIN ISO standard. But these are the ones I've been using mainly anytime I need a open-ended spanner. So they're very, very high quality. They're made right in Gedore's Remscheid plant in Germany. It's one of their premier products. So I would definitely recommend, if you need a set of spanners, to check them out. So here's another product from Wera. This is the Tool Check Plus system. This particular one is the metric set, but there is also an imperial version of this. And this, I got this pretty recently, and I included it on this list because I was so impressed with the selection, the amount of bits you get for it, and the amount of tools that are in such a compact space. So the main advantage is this tiny little bit ratchet, which all but obsoletes a offset screwdriver. Obviously the offset screwdriver is going to be height-wise a little bit better, but sort of the problem with this guy is you got to lift it up, move it each time. This one, once you engage, you can just use the ratcheting mechanism. But in terms of the amount of tools you get for the value, it's really a great deal for this little set. Here's another product from Gedore. So this is an 8-inch adjustable wrench, or 200 millimeters for the metric people. But the great thing about this thing is there's almost no slop in this jaw. It's very, very well built, and these are actually made in South Africa. And yes, there are better alternatives to adjustable wrenches now, specifically the Knipex Pliers wrench. Buying one of these is a little bit cheaper than buying one of those at this time. But I still think the adjustable wrenches are going to be around for quite a while, even though there are alternatives out there that are superior technically. They just haven't gained widespread acceptance yet. So up next we have a set of Knipex pliers that I use all the time. And before you start writing that comment that I'm saying that name wrong, Knipex is the way that the Germans say it. So I'm never going to correct somebody that they're saying it wrong, but the way I kind of think about it, think about it like a proper name, like somebody's last name. I'm lucky to have a last name that's easy to pronounce, but people who have last names that are not will tell you how annoyed they get when people mispronounce it all the time. So my girlfriend has a Polish last name, and there's many different ways people have tried to pronounce that before. And I actually have my own little story on German company name pronunciation. So this right here is a product that we use a lot for lightning protection. So the company is DEHN. These are all German products. And for probably 5 years or so, we were calling these the DEN modules. Basically, the H is silent, is the way we were pronouncing it. That was until we met with some company reps from Germany, and they informed us that we were pronouncing it wrong. It's actually pronounced DEAN, sort of like DEAN. So I think that's kind of the phenomenon that's happening with Knipex, is people were just so used to pronouncing it a certain way that's kind of hard to change. And so yeah, when we're on the phone with people in Afghanistan at the FOBs asking them why something's not working, we say, did you check the DEN modules? If we say check the DEAN modules, they'll have no idea what we're talking about. But yeah, it's kind of, this color would turn red after a lightning strike, after this module goes out, and you would just pull it out and get a replacement for it. It's a neat little product. But I think that's sort of the same phenomena that's happening with Knipex. People were just so used to pronouncing it a certain way that when they learn that they were wrong the whole time, you know, it's hard to switch over. I don't really care how you pronounce it. I mean, I'll know what you mean if you say get the Knipex pliers. But back to the tools here. So first up, we got the Knipex Cobra 10-inch with 2 component handles. So this has been my go-to set of adjustable pliers for quite a while now. I think I probably had this for about 2 years or so. So I'm sure people have had theirs much, much longer. But even after 2 years, I recently did the 10-inch pliers showdown, and this one actually came out on front, even though the other units were brand new. What you get over this is the number of adjustment points. This has 25 adjustment points, I believe, and a max opening width of 100 millimeters when closed. And they offer different handle styles, but I much prefer this handle style over the non-slip coating style that you can get with the Knipex pliers. And it's also multiple finishes you can get. This is the polished finish. You can also get it in chrome. and the pieces are replaceable. If you ever break this spring, you can buy a replacement kit to switch that out. This is probably the most indispensable tool that you can get in your tool bag. So next up, we got a pair of Knipex side cutters, and these are obviously for cutting heavy gauge electrical wire. So I think this is probably like 8 gauge or so. It cuts right through it, no problem. So anytime I need to cut any heavy gauge wires, these are the pair that I grab. Third pair of Knipex that I use a lot are these needle nose pliers. So this kind actually has a cutter built into it. It's another indispensable tool that you always seem to need one of these for multiple reasons. If you need to pick up something that you don't have very good access to, or if you just need to hold something that's very, very tiny that you won't be able to hold in something like these. That's what these are great for. So those are those 3 Knipex pliers. So right here we have the Gedore Engineer's Hammer. So this thing has been used so much that I don't think there's much of a label left, but it did say Gedore there at one time. So maybe they want to think about actually putting it into the head. But I believe these are made by Pickard or Pickard. They make a lot of hammers for different German companies with this similar design. This particular one is a 500 gram head on it. You can get them in many different weights. 200, 300, 400, even up to, I believe, maybe like a kilogram. But I find the 500 is a good balance between weight and, precision when you're striking. And this thing does have I believe they call it the Rotband Plus system, which you can replace this head pretty easily. That's a wood screw that's actually in there. You pull that wood screw out and this head will slip off. You can buy another handle if you ever break this handle and just replace that. And then it's also got this sleeve on here, which is used for overstriking protection, which it looks like I've actually engaged a couple of times. I don't remember doing that, but it looks like I did. But yeah, this is another tool that I've had for quite a few years, and it's definitely seen lots of use. And it's got great balance. That's another thing I like about this hammer. So related to that engineer's hammer, we got another product from Gedore, and this is the 106D Chisel and Punch Set. And it comes in this really nice steel powder-coated case, and it's basically got a selection of their entire, striking tool product line. We got a couple of 97 series of flat chisels, and then we got a key chisel, and then we got a center punch, a 4mm pin punch, and a drift punch. So as you can see by the wear on these, I use these quite a bit, and I don't think I've actually done a review specifically on this set, but I have done reviews on their punches. I actually own several different Gedore punch sets. I believe they're, for the value, they're one of the best in the business. I like this set because of the nice case it has. When you open it up, you don't have to worry about everything, rolling around, getting all mixed up. It comes with this nice little piece of foam, and all that foam does is just help reduce noise during transport. So when it doesn't sound like a box of quarters. But that's a very, very good set from Gedore. They've been probably making this set for quite a while. So another German brand that I use a lot is this Ballistol. And I mainly use this for lubricating the tools, but I've found over the past couple of years using this stuff, it has a lot more uses than you would think. It goes very far. Just this little 4-ounce bottle will last you months, even if you oil your tools, every other day. And you can buy them in different forms. This is the liquid form. There is an aerosol form you can buy it in as well as in pre-lubricated wipes. But I may do a future video on Ballistol in terms of what's in it and what it can do. But the one word of caution is you don't want to use this on anything brass, copper, bronze, because it will actually start to tarnish and dissolve it eventually. So here's a little folding rule from Wiha. It's actually made by a company in Switzerland, KG Books, and they are a subsidiary of Wiha, but that's basically all they do is they make plastic measuring tools. That's their thing. So this little guy, it's not very expensive, but you get a 1 meter folding rule with both inch and metric. So that's one thing I would recommend, is that anytime you get a folding rule, it's always good to have both versions on there, even if you're only exclusively using one. But I've been using this for about a year, and the joints do get weaker over time, but it's still very usable. I guess eventually they'll wear out, but that's pretty much the normal in any folding rule system. If you guys have ever used a really old folding rule, the joints get worn out over time. But that's the Wiha 61601. For precision screwdrivers, you got a lot of options. You know, a lot of different German brands make great precision screwdrivers. And really it's just a personal preference of which one you end up preferring. So what I always suggest is try one of each and then pick the ones that you like the best. But these ones are from Wera. These are the Kraftform micro screwdrivers. So this particular set is the Wera 345271 Precision Slotted and Phillips screwdriver set. So you get a Phillips 0001, and then you get some slotted screws at 1.5, 2.0, and 3.0 millimeter widths. They sell the set loose, so if you want a way to store it, you're going to have to pick up one of these Kraftform micro storage pouches, which will hold up to 12 of these Kraftform micro screwdrivers. So there's that 6-piece set in the storage pouch, which just folds over like that. So here's another product which I haven't had too long, but I was so impressed I felt obligated to include it in this, was the Wiha Universal Scraper. So you can buy this tool separately. All it is just the Wiha handle with this collet, which you can insert razor blades into. So you just basically insert it, tighten it down, and you're ready to go. So I like to use this for scraping off old tape and stuff. And you can get down in there. The blade's flexible enough to minimize damage to the underlying surface. But that's a great little tool for the value. As anybody knows, those little X-Acto knife type tools can be really hard to work with sometimes. And this big handle gives you a lot more control over that blade. So next up we got a set of Gedore Circlip or snap ring pliers. So these are actually made in Austria. I actually prefer these Gedore Circlip pliers because I do actually have a couple of several Knipex ones, but they feel a lot lighter to me than the Knipex. So like right here, these are essentially the same pliers. They're both for external retaining rings, 10 to 25 millimeter. But these Knipex ones are a lot more heavy, a lot heavier than the Gedore. I mean, you could tell by the amount of meat that's in there. But that's just a personal preference. I'm sure a lot of people love using these ones. There's nothing wrong with the Knipex ones. Now the other thing the Gedore has going for it that I don't think I've seen any other brand do is the different color on the handles. So the red ones are for the external retaining rings, the blue ones are for internal retaining rings. And that may not seem like a big deal, but it actually does help a lot when you go to grab the right plier. These are not something that everybody's going to use every day, but there will be a point when you're disassembling something and there's a retaining ring on there, and without the proper tool it can be a real pain to get those off, and often quite dangerous. Those things can fly off and hit you in the eye. And there's two sizes in here. There's a 1 and a 2. So the 1 size is 10 to 25 external. The 2 size is 19 to 60. You got the same sizes for internal retaining rings for the blue handles. So next up here we have a 12-piece set of Wiha screwdrivers. So this set is a slotted and Phillips set, but you really get a great value out of the selection you get. So in terms of the Phillips, you get a number 3, a number 2, a number 1, and a number 0. Slotted pretty much as large as you need, all the way down to a 3mm. And then you get 2 stubby screwdrivers. One's a Phillips number 2, and then one's a 6.5mm slotted. The main reason I really like this set is actually these 2 screwdrivers right here, these small ones. So this one has saved me a couple of times because typically your precision screwdrivers are not going to have a shaft this long for a small slotted. So for example, here's a precision Wera 3.0mm, and then here's the same size in that Wiha. So I'm sure Wera probably makes a regular size in that size, but in terms of the selection you get, some of these are indispensable, and these are really great screwdrivers. For the amount of tools you get, it's a really good value. The final tool up is this Felo automatic wire stripper. So I know there's an OEM manufacturer out there that makes this for a lot of other German brand companies. So you'll see pretty much a clone of this on nearly every company. I don't know who the manufacturer is, but it's a very well-made product. So the great thing about this, it strips anywhere from 24 to 10 American wire gauge. And I love this adjustment, so you can adjust the strip length. And that value is in millimeters there. So, and the other thing it has on the top here is a wire cutter that is good up to 12 gauge, I believe. So basically just place it in there. You may have to pull the insulation off to finish it, but so say you want a shorter lead. So the only negative I have to say about this is it doesn't do very well on Teflon coated wire. But unless you're making stuff for the military or heavy industrial, you guys have probably never even seen Teflon coated wire before. So that's what you get when you have Teflon. It's just too slippery to grab onto. But so for 99% of people, this thing works great, especially on PVC coated wire. That's really what it's designed for. Well, there you go, guys. That's my pick for what $1,000 in list price of German brand tools is going to get you. And of course, this may change over time. There may be several of these that I replace with equivalents that I like better, but at this time, this is what I would select. Have a good day, and I'll catch you guys next time.